Welcome to Coddiwompling Along The Tao with Noel Eastwood, and today I'm going to be showing you how to find your dominant zodiac sign. Every chart, what we're doing with every chart is we're looking for keys. We're looking for clues as to the person's personality. So if you're doing a reading for a client or for yourself, a family member or a friend, you want to be able to hook into those key points that they can relate to. And the more that you do this, the more you will start to understand how astrology can talk to you. So just down the bottom line here on the yellow sheet, sometimes it is easy and the chart just leaps at you and it talks. Some charts, really hard to find those clues, those keys to the person. And often you'll see that reflected in the person themselves. An open chart, an easily read chart, is often how the person is. They're just black and white. What you see is what you get. Other charts you got to work at hard to tease out the personality traits, and often that person is very guarded, very closed. What we would like to see is a balance of all the elements, all the signs and all the planets in the chart, but enough that ever happens. A good balance in the elements does happen, but usually it's one or two elements, and often and of course that will be reflected in the signs. Anyway, let's have a look at some pictures. So here are the signs of the medieval period. We've got Scorpio, Libra, Cancer the crab. Crab looks like a lobster. But the best one is Leo the monkey, down the bottom here. He looks so much like the king of the jungle to me. This is a very important picture here. The elements. This groups the signs in their elements, because elements are something that, well, for me as a professional astrologer and a therapist, sometimes it speaks louder than the actual signs. So knowing your elements, Leo, Aries, Sagittarius and fire, means you know the tone of that person. If they have a fire dominance, then they're going to be pretty upbeat. They're going to show enthusiasm and creativity and imagination. They can be a bit boisterous, probably get a little bit too involved in addictive behaviors like drinking and partying and addictions of gambling and sex, but that's fire. Water, Scorpio, Pisces, Cancer. Water is the emotional element, and you'll see that theme flowing through all three of these. Particularly Pisces, ruled by Neptune. The Pisces element wants to blend. It doesn't want to be a drop of water. It wants to get into the pond and become part of that pond. So when you're doing your readings, pay particular note of Pisces, the 12th house, and Neptune and what it's doing. This is the Earth, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, and they're the sort of down-to-earth, practical types, reliable, responsible. And here we have the air, Libra, Gemini, and Aquarius, and these guys are active like fire. So an air-fire chart, that means where the sign of air or fire is actually sitting on the cusp of an air-fire house. So the first house is a fire house. The third house is an air house. So if you've got air or fire sitting on these cusps right around the chart, then it excites the personality or the person. Now this one is something that all astrologers and budding astrologers need to learn, and that is rulerships. Here we have the 9th house. It is a Sagittarian flavoured house. It is a Jupiterian flavoured house. Jupiter rules Sagittarius. So no matter where Jupiter sits in the chart, it will always draw wherever Sagittarius, whatever house cusp it sits on. So for instance, if Sagittarius is sitting on the 12th house cusp, Jupiter, which could be, say, let's put it in the 4th house, Jupiter will actually take the contents of that house and deposit it into the house that he is residing in. Now, it takes practice to be aware of all of these things, but that's how you read a chart. That's how you get the detail and the dynamics start to liven when you can do this. Okay, I'm going to put that away and grab the chart that I'm working on today, which is Nicolas Cage. I chose Nicolas Cage because there's a few themes there that come out nice and easy. I didn't want to, I actually tried earlier to do just a random chart from October this year, and it was really complex. And I would have spent maybe an hour or two to actually walk through it. That's how complex it was. This chart, black and white. Okay, let's orient ourselves to the chart first. It's whole signs. That means the ascendant of Sagittarius starts the chart at 0 degrees Sag. Okay, so even though it's 25 Sag, the cusp of the first is 0 degrees Sag, and thus all of the houses are the same size because they all start at 0 degrees of the next sign. And we have Sag, first house. We've got Ceres or Demeter, the asteroid. I've actually included that in this chart. Don't know why. Sometimes I leave it in, sometimes I don't. And it is ruled by, of course, we just said, Jupiter, who happens to be in the 5th house in Aries. Well, that's extraordinary because the last chart I did, Jupiter was in Aries, where it is now, of course. Right, that means that Jupiter now draws in that 1st house contents into the 5th. In other words, he is living life, which is the ascendant and the 1st house is your connection with the world out there. It's what you touch, smell, breathe, what you say, what you hear. Your engagement with the world is now flavored with Jupiter, Aries, and the 5th house, which is a Leo house. So, in other words, very highly creative, imaginative, exciting, enthusiastic, all of those qualities. And of course, Nicolas Cage exhibits them as well. So straight away we got a strong dominance of fire. 5th house, Jupiter as lord of the chart because it rules Sag, and it's also in Aries, and Aries is on that cusp. We also have an air-fire chart. In other words, air and fire signs are on the air and fire house cusps. 1st house, Sag. 3rd house, which is air, is Aquarius. 5th house, which is Leo, is Aries. Then we've got Gemini, Leo, and Libra. So air and fire. So in other words, that energizes. It gets the energy moving. That person can be a little bit hyperactive, a little bit ADHD, a little bit impulsive, a little bit creative. All of those qualities that we're looking for in air and fire. Now, it also means that earth and water are on their own cusps as well, but they're more passive. They pull back a bit more, so you're not going to notice them as much as you will an hyperactive child crawling under the desks in class. Okay, the water and earth dominant people will be a little bit more subdued, a little bit more compliant, particularly in groups. Okay. I'm just going to go through here. Sign dominance primarily depends on your planets, the sign on your house cusps, your ascendant and midheaven. Consider sign, house, the aspects the planets form, particularly the luminaries, planetary patterns like stellium, grand cross, grand trine, and it is raining pretty heavily outside. I hope it doesn't disturb the microphone. Yes, we want to look at stelliums, grand cross, grand trines. Let's have a look what we got. We have a grand trine there. We got a mystic rectangle there, and we have some T-squares. Here we go. Okay, that's a busy chart, isn't it? Now, when I see lots of squares and T-squares, I know that person is hardworking because life is pretty tough. But what I like to see is that no matter how tough it gets, they can spin that conflict into a trine or a sextile. So we have a balance here. We've got sextiles, trines that can pacify or release the tension of the squares and the oppositions. Right, the elements of both house and sign, which I've already explained, house and sign go together, and conjunctions to the luminaries, sun and moon, are critical. So whatever the sun and moon are doing, the house they're in, the sign they're in, and conjunctions and oppositions tell us a lot more about that person, because the two luminaries represent so much to us as human beings. Big standouts are, of course, the luminaries, your ascendant, and the lord of the chart, and in this case it's Jupiter, because Jupiter rules the ascendant sign. Planets in the first house, ruler of the midheaven, so the midheaven is in Libra, so that is ruled by Venus, so that gives Venus a bit more oomph. And look at this, Venus is in an air sign in Aquarius, in the third house. So Venus is quite strong now, because she's in her own element, both sign and house placement. Planet of high degree, if there is one. So the closest planet to the midheaven is Moon. So now we have water. Water in an air house, in an air sign. So that's pretty interesting. We've got air, 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 all happening in that 11th house. So what I'm looking for straight away is what's happening in that first house, and we've already linked it to the 5th, Aries and Jupiter. So that puts fire up pretty high. Then we look at the luminary, and we're looking for stelliums and mini stelliums. So we have a mini stellium. So traditionally, a stellium is 4 planets in a house or a sign. A mini stellium is 3. So it makes us pretty strong still. So in other words, there's a lump and a mixing and a melding of planetary energies in Capricorn in the second. And guess what? Capricorn is Earth. So is the second. The second house is Earth. So we have an air planet, a fire planet, and a fire planet conjunct in an Earth sign and an Earth house. So what do we do there? Guess it'll be complicated, but we have a bump in the fire, and we've got strength in the Earth. So let me just go here. Can I write that down? Okay, Earth. We'll put Capricorn. Capricorn, Sun, Mercury, Mars. Second house. Okay. The other Earth house is the 6th, and the other one is a loaded 10th. Now we've got, I'm going to put a dash there, we've got 2 generational in the 10th. We've got 2 generational planets. They're also in Virgo. Generational planets don't manifest the same way as a personal planet. So from Jupiter out, they're generational. From Jupiter back, they're personal. And Jupiter is the bridging planet. In other words, it can be either a personal planet, which means it's very visible to us in a day-to-day interaction with people, or it can be a generational, in which it's more psychological, operating deeper below the surface. So these guys make that 10th house very strong. So we've got a fair bit in it. Let's go fire. We've got Sag Ascendant. We've got Lord of the chart Jupiter in 5th and Aries. We've got Sun conjunct Mars, because they're both fire. Ceres, I'm going to leave Ceres out, because by adding, the more points you add to a chart, the more confused you get. And although I would do a reading with Ceres in the chart, Ceres and Chiron, 2 asteroids, for the purposes of this exercise, I don't want to make it too complicated, because I'll just talk for hours. I'll have to explain things. Okay, that's fire. Okay, we're going to go 1st, 5th and 9th. Not a great deal, but I'm going to add at the top. It's an air fire chart. okay, which means that air and fire are on their own cusps, or on the air-fire cusps. Okay, air. What do we got? We got midheaven, we got moon, and they're in Libra. We've got, we got Venus, and even though Saturn is, he's the ruler of Capricorn, and so he's sucking that second house into the third. He's in an air house in an air sign, so we're going to give him that in, I want to say in the third, which is significant, and Aquarius. What else have we got in here? Okay, what are we looking? 3rd, 7th, and 11th. Okay, midheaven. Okay, we've got 11th house plus midheaven. That's fairly strong. And what's the next one? Water. Okay, I'm using the elements as you can see there. Okay, because it makes it easier. Okay, water. What do we got? That's the 4th. Yeah, we got a watery planet in the 4th, and it's Pisces. 4th, 8th. North Node in the 8th. Yeah, I'm not going to give it too much weight. Now, this is the juicy one. We got Neptune rules Pisces, so it's very water. It's in the 12th house, which is a Pisces house, and it's in Scorpio, which is a water planet. So I'm going to give it Neptune in Scorpio and the 12th. So what is our ruling sign? Well, I'm going to have to go. Look at these three. We got fire's pretty darn strong. Air's possibly stronger. And earth is quite strong as well. So I'm going to, let's go with, in that case, we've got three that are very balanced, quite balanced. So in those cases, I'll be looking at the personal planets. So Moon, Venus, okay. Mercury, this is Earth, makes that strong, but then is it overruled by the Ascendant and the Lord of the Chart and the 5th house? Probably go, strongest might be air, then that goes to probably earth, and that goes to fire, which equals, we'd probably go, we're probably looking at Aquarius. Now, let's look at Nicolas Cage's chart. He's a Capricorn. What are you saying? He's got his chart dominance is actually Aquarius. Well, because there's so much activity in the 11th house and Aquarius itself, which is also in a air house, then we're going to sort of sway it. But seriously, this is a very balanced chart except for water. And what does he do for water? Whenever we have an imbalance, or let's say a weakness in water or any other sign, is where we excel. It's where we push, strive to accommodate it into our lives. There we go. So what would the water be? It'd have to be Pisces. Now I'm going to put that in brackets, Pisces. Now some charts, it'll be really muddled and really hard, and I would just stick to the elements. I wouldn't actually go for a sign as such. I would just stick with elements. Some charts are very black and white, and you'll see big stelliums. Probably show you my chart for that. You'll see big stelliums that are easy to easy to read. Okay, let me get me up. Where is Noel Eastwood? Let's go search for Noel Eastwood. Okay, let's do whole signs. Open and view. Okay, so my chart is a lot easier. Why? Well, look at that 8th house. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planets in Leo. Of those 5 planets, 3 of them are fire planets. There's only 3 fire planets in the chart anyway, and they're all jam-packed in here. They are also form a stellium, which is very much a fire pattern. The caveat, of course, is that it's in a Scorpio house. It's the 8th house, and which is corresponds to Scorpio, and Pluto, of course, rules Scorpio. So Pluto is actually conjunct everybody. So it's a Scorpionic Leo. And I could just write down Leo plus Scorpio as the dominance in this chart. But I've also got a strong Capricorn. Thank goodness. That makes me a little bit more bearable. Okay, so I'm just going to come back here quickly. How to find your dominant zodiac sign. Look at the whole chart. You've got to look at the whole chart. And for me to do a chart like this, okay, so that took me, 20 minutes to tease out that it's actually balanced with a slight leaning towards Aquarius. 20 minutes. That's pretty good. Other charts might take me 2 days. I'll look at it and I'll work at it. I'll put it down, go away, let my unconscious go over it and over it and over it. I'll come back and look at it again. Then I'll put it down, walk away, do something else, come back to it. It might take me a couple of days. In the past, when I was practicing astrology very regularly, a lot, I would spend 4 to 6 hours doing preparation for a reading. So don't expect that it's going to hit you in the face all the time. It takes time. But the key that I'd like you to take away with you is, first of all, we are a synthesis of everything. There is no single point in the chart that tells us everything. Sometimes you'll get a chart where it's a lot easier because of stelliums. Stelliums really make a big difference in the chart. But the moment that we start going into a balanced chart, the person becomes, we can see that the person is more balanced. Here's Lucille Ball, we've got Capricorn dominance, we've got a Taurus there, we've got Virgo. So that's nice. But look at this, they're all in fire houses. 1st, 5th and 9th. Very interesting, isn't it? So everybody's different. And look, she's a Leo sun. So great for performers, these fire people, aren't they? But is it the dominant sign? Yeah, in this case, Nicolas Cage is far more balanced than that. Okay, I'm going to sign off, and thank you for watching. If you like it, hit the like. If you'd like to leave a comment, email me, and I'll catch you at the next one. Bye.